I know we've talked before a little bit about this idea of who has the right to declare independence from another group, whether it's a government or a country or a league of nations or what have you. And right now, I think what we're beginning to see is that people around the world are beginning to wake up to this idea that government, as most of us think of it, is really kind of a fiction. Really, what it comes down to is that there are bullies who push other people around and tell them, you do what I say, or I'm going to put you in a cage. And then there are people who are just trying to live their lives. I guess we're seeing this illustrated right now in Catalonia in Spain, where they've got a referendum scheduled for October 1st, in which they're going to basically discuss publicly this idea of becoming their own country, independent of Spain. Now, this independence referendum, why is it being opposed so much by the country of Spain? Well, it's against their constitution. It's not allowed. You cannot become a separate country. There is only one Spain. That's the same logic and the same reasoning that was used by the United States in crushing the war of rebellion, whatever you want to call it, the southern states, when they, and you know, I understand there are a lot of other issues that went into that war as well. But if you cannot allow someone to freely disassociate with you and say, I don't want to be part of your country anymore, then you ought to be allowed to do that, shouldn't you? I mean, wasn't that what the American Revolution was all about? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to separate from another, the bonds that hold them together. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it, of the Declaration of Independence? And yet, this fiction that somehow, well, you're free to choose, just participate with the voting, have a vote about it, and then the results of the vote will be binding. That's not true. I mean, look here in Alaska, for example, this issue of the permanent fund dividend. When it was voted in and people were like, yes, we're going to set up this permanent fund. It's going to be for the future. It belongs to the people and not to the government. Well, the governor last year, when he vetoed half of the distribution of that permanent fund dividend, put the lie to that statement. And then the legislature, with their vote this year, to limit it, to just set it at $1,100 instead of the $2,300 it would have been according to the historical formula, well, they put the lie to it as well. You see, it's not the people's. It belongs to those who are in power, just like you do, as long as you continue to submit to their rules and as long as you continue to kowtow and lick their boots and say, oh, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir, as long as we continue to give a position of authority and power to people who do not inherently have that over you because you are a free person. If you don't believe that you're a free person, you're not. If you act like a slave, then you are one. There was a story by Harriet, or a statement by Harriet Tubman that went, all the way back to the Underground Railroad. And people were congratulating her on how many people she saved by getting them out of slavery. And I remember this one thing that she said about how she could have saved so many more if she could just get them to recognize that they were slaves. If you'd like to engage me on the topic, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com. Let's talk about it.